Hole number 4, a short par 3. So obviously on par 3s we are talking about club selection. We need to know distances, beginning of the green, end of the green, obviously middle of the green. So golfers have to know how to get these distances. If they're newer golfers, then they'll struggle at that because they don't know what tools to use. Better golfers obviously get those distances quicker, but sometimes they just stand there and yeah, it's probably a 7-iron, and then they hit it and then they end up long. And long, we have penalty area, and that's a problem. So obviously, every hole has different things that we have to practice or want to practice. So we'll try and create situations where we put golfers into situations where they have to solve. Sometimes the normal general shots, like a normal pitch shot around the green, which then ends somewhere on the green. So it's like starting here, having a flag over here, learning that there's a landing spot and then a roll. So people have to kind of like figure out ways. So if we're over this side with the ball and the flag's over here, now what solution do we have? What happens if the flag's over this side with the penalty area in the back? Obviously there's a risk shot. They'll have to understand how to use the loft to reduce the landing point so the landing point isn't up here, because if you kind of like make the mistake of trying to want to play it here and then accidentally you're a few meters long, then you're gone. So you want to play it earlier, and the moment you actually ground it earlier, that means the ball's going to roll a little more. So that means you have plenty of space to let it roll out and keep it on the green. So those strategies in short game are absolutely perfect because we can pitch over bunkers. We can from this side here, there is higher grass on this side, so we have always kind of like different situations depending on where the flag is. Gives you lots of opportunities to explore different shots. Bunker shots, obviously we have different bunkers, sometimes higher bunkers that have a steeper ridge where you have to play it with the ball above your feet, or just a typical normal sand bunker, which is literally like a hip height, nothing difficult to play. But it's knowing that behind the bunker, behind the green, there is penalty area. So there's always that kind of like danger lurking over you. So you want to make sure that your amount of sand you take is adequate and is not something of guesswork. Then putting over slopy greens. The green on this hole is really slopy. So it makes for really good practice to kind of like have a flag down here and then start with the ball over here. So then people have to kind of like realize how they actually read the green. We do that backwards. So we try and establish first the entry line. The entry line is giving you a really nice picture depending on the steepness of the slope. And then you go back. So the entry line, you'll probably look at the entry line from down here. So you'll try and specify in what direction is the ball coming into the hole. So then you go back over to where the ball is, and now you have an entry direction, which is this. Now you have to find a start direction, which then with the middle section brings the ball onto the right entry line. So there is always kind of like a work we have to do is first establishing the entry line. We do it from down here. Secondly, we go up to the ball, and then from here we try and establish visually a start line, which then can create together with the second part a path which leads into the third path of the third of the putting stroke. So that's what we usually do when we have really long shots, really long putts. It makes absolute sense to try and different situations. So if the ball's up, the hole's up there and we're down here, now how do we do that? Kind of like realizing that the ball's probably going to come from here, and then what do I have to do with this slope? Probably have to do it like this. It's going to get pulled over this line, and then we get into the hole. We do that regularly on all different kind of greens, so people get used to the way of handling it. Flight height control in pitching, I've been speaking about that. If you're around the green, you want to have different options to let the ball either stop or let it run, just to choose a good decent landing spot instead of a risky landing spot. This is something just for your thinking. I don't feel like there is a click. It's more of an accumulation of experience with a combination of being tired of your own mistakes. So when you're in your typical golf world, you'll be always focusing on the bad stuff because you want to improve it. Part of it, that's okay. On the other side, you also have to tap your shoulders for everything you do well. Otherwise, there's only going to be uh, mm, hits on your head, and we don't want it to be negative all the time. So, but there's going to be a moment when you have something that doesn't work, and there's going to be a moment when you have to decide, what am I going to do? And it usually doesn't just come like a click. It's usually a situation where you're tired of making the same mistake and you decide to do something about it, because you can just accept that something isn't working and trying to play around it. But that's not really the solution. So it is about understanding your mistakes and how you have to practice in a better way. So once you practice in a better way, then things will change. So try and think about your weak spots. Tap on your shoulders for your good stuff, but for your weak spots, try and figure out how important are they, and then try and look for a solution. That's why the PGA professional in your club, or we are here to help you to get out of your slump and make your game even more enjoyable.